Coming up on this episode of Up for Debate, we're talking the future of media. That's right, how you'll consume books, TV, music, and more. In the future, will they stream directly into your eyeballs? We're going to get all creative and interesting as we look towards the future in this episode of Up for Debate. Stick around, it's going to start right now. This is Up for Debate, episode number 56, recorded July 21st, 2016. The future of entertainment. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Up for Debate, the podcast that still uses old media. I'm Sean Jennings, joined, as always, by the man who can see into the future. It's Matt Mariani.
How are you doing, Mr. Sean? I'm looking forward to this new future of media we have going on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting discussion to see exactly where we go in the future.
Now, being as though being a media person as yourself,
is that a good thing? I don't know what that means.
Time and time again, I think that in this episode we'll do something a little bit different. Where I think as a casual, I think that in this episode of media trends, and you as the brilliant researcher of all things media. Yes, I just described you as a brilliant researcher.
There's a reason I haven't stopped you. Keep going. This is great.
I think that I should do most of the question asking, and you can do a majority of the question answering. And I think we'll both explore together what we have in store for us, what there is in store for us as media consumers in the future.
I think so. And, before we get into that, I do want to mention, if you're interested in this topic, there is another show you might like. It's called Don't Panic. And we kind of talk about it in some ways every week.
You guys talk about the future every day. The future is always now.
The future is always now, especially Monday nights. You should check it out. Don'tPanic.io is the website.
Future already. Right after I made that statement, we moved a couple seconds into the future.
And by the way, speaking of future media, I just got a text from my sister asking, has Netflix been okay for you? It's been really slow the last 2 days.
There we go.
I control how fast the Netflix is.
At least we can start. We can start with the Netflix.
The Netflix.
The Netflix.
The Netflix. Netflix is actually pretty interesting, Matt. And let me tell you why. As a business, the thing about Netflix, right, and I think you would agree, is that it's all about what content is available on Netflix, right? That's why you pay for it. If Netflix doesn't have things you don't want to watch, you won't pay for it, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Especially in a subscription model where you can cancel at any time. Netflix constantly has to have new content, whether it's original content or content that they purchase from somebody else, and they have to keep you as a subscriber, keep you interested. Their whole business runs on growing their subscriber base. Fair enough?
Yeah, I think it's just like one giant garbage disposal where they just have to dump as much garbage as possible, and then the garbage disposal churns it and grinds it up, and then then when you're out of garbage, you gotta keep loading more garbage, or the garbage disposal consumers are not going to be happy with it.
Well, you're partly right. I'll give you 50% credit on the analogy. You're right in the fact that it is a large quantity you constantly have to be filling. But what's interesting about Netflix is it's all about the metrics. Because a garbage disposal is messy and chops it in bulk. But Netflix actually laser targets. This might interest you. And maybe you've never noticed this. You ever go on Netflix and notice the album art, well, the sort of art that represents the TV show changes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it changes every once in a while.
They do that on purpose, and they only change it for some people.
What?
It's all psychology, and you don't realize it, because they found that they'll test different art with different consumers because they know based on your subscriber profile who you are and what your viewing habits are. And they'll actually target the art to try to incentivize you to more likely to click and to watch that show. If you scroll by it one day, the next day they may put different art they think you're more likely to click on.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. It's all about the metrics. That's where a lot of the value comes in.
Now, so for example, my artwork that will appear for say Cutthroat Kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
which is a wonderful program that they have on Netflix. I've been binge watching
Yeah.
recently. That artwork will be different than, say, uh, what like my sister would have on her Netflix,
Well, it's possible. I mean, it's not that they
or
have an
even what you might have on your Netflix, Sean.
sure. I mean, they'll cycle between 5 and 10 different pieces of art. It's not like it's unlimited. But it's
But-
just they make a point of changing it with some regularity.
So you think that? I mean, you mentioned before that changes based on the demographic of the viewer or of the account holder, whoever's Netflix account it is. Now, are they extrapolating those, like, that information? Are they getting that from the other shows you watch?
That's
So,
part of
for
it.
example, if you watch a lot of, say, you watch a lot of comedies, they'll find like a funny looking still from a show or a movie, and they'll use that as the still image. Wow.
That's exactly the idea, and that's the simple version of it. Doing recommendations based on other recommendations, and I'm not gonna say it's easy because it's not, but it's one of the easier things. Then they start to fold in things like your age and your gender and demographic, where you live, your location. I mean, Netflix can say, people in your town, Matt, might really like a show, and people where I live might like totally different stuff. They can do it that way. I mean, again, this is why Facebook is so valuable and so successful at what they do, is because they know everything about you and can target things in such an uncomfortably tight way that you don't understand how they know you better than you know you. But that's
Wow.
where the money comes in. And for example, when Netflix signed that big deal with Adam Sandler, right, where they're going to release like 10 of his movies, and we all thought they were crazy.
Also, by the way, probably the most ingenious thing that Adam Sandler has ever done in his career.
It's
Wow.
pretty smart.
You got to
Guaranteed
give
money
the guy credit.
to
Yeah,
make-
guaranteed money to keep making his shitty movies
without all the headlines of
without
people
a
hate
risk.
Adam Sandler movies and no one went and
Yes.
saw them. Because
Or-
Netflix
and
doesn't
without-
release the stats.
It's not going to get destroyed by critics, or even if it does, that doesn't equate to a big box office failure.
Mm-hmm. But the beauty of that is, apparently, and I guess we have to trust that Netflix knows what they're doing, their demographics and their metrics said our subscribers will continue to keep their subscription because we have these Adam Sandler movies.
Well, yeah, and that kind of connects to, have you heard of hate watching?
Yeah, absolutely.
People hate watch a lot of Adam Sandler movies, especially because they're on Netflix. They're free. You're not paying $12 for a ticket to go see the what is it, not the Silly Eight? What was the parody of the Cowboys?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking. Yeah.
The Screwball 8 or whatever it was called. And you can hate watch it. You can actually just watch it and be like, wow, I can't believe how stupid this is, but I'm watching it anyway. I don't know who spends their time like that. I think you have to be a pretty big masochist to sit in front of an Adam Sandler movie
Although,
that was made after Waterboy.
Matt, you have to remember, we are the guys who watched how many seasons of Bones?
I have to distinctly disagree. I did not watch a single episode of Bones. For the record.
For
I
that
did.
record.
I did sit and watch the movie where the hamsters became spies.
They were guinea pigs.
Oh,
Let's
guinea
be
pigs, yeah.
specific. Yes, I do remember that. God, yeah. No, I mean that's what's interesting, right? It's all about getting them to pay. But the point I was getting at is the problem Netflix has. Content is really expensive, and Netflix over the next couple of years is going to owe billions and billions of dollars in contract money that they signed to get the rights to these movies.
Yeah.
So the question is, and this is where the future of entertainment comes in, getting back to our point now that we've explained how Netflix works, I'm wondering where the tipping point comes where, let's say you're the Disney Corporation and you're putting out a new movie, okay? You, at this point, should be able to figure out you're more likely, if you can get your demographic, what you can charge them to see that movie, right? In a theater, it might be $11 or $9. If you rent it on a digital service, it might be $5. To buy it on a digital service is $20. For Netflix, they have a price per subscriber, whatever that is, based on your monthly subscription and the likelihood of you watching it, there's a value, right?
Right.
But I'm interested in, at what point does it become it doesn't become cost effective for bulk subscription services to carry these movies. Maybe this is getting too financial in the weeds, but it'll get to the point where
I get where
Netflix has 1 million movies, and because they have to pay for all of them,
right?
Can they get enough people at $12 a month to make the numbers work?
I definitely think they can. My only concern there is you see how Netflix raised their price recently. They only raised it by I think $1, or it might have been $1.99, probably $1, something like that. If they continue to slyly just ever so incrementally increase their subscriptions, I think that might hit a tipping point where people are just like, it's just not worth it for me anymore. It's getting too expensive. I think theoretically there's a lot of wiggle room in there. Just looking at it from the average consumer, I think would, if need be, I think they would pay about $15 a month to keep their Netflix subscription. Sure. Right now it's at $9, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are different tiers. I think the bare minimum is 10.
10. It just went up to 10, yes. Just for that bare subscription, I think the threshold there would be 15. I think that's the point where you would start getting once you hit that 15 mark, I think you'd get people saying, "Wait a minute, I don't." And again, I don't know about the finances in depth or the money signs and all that, and but I think that would probably, to me, signal the beginning of the end potentially, unless they want to start offering more incentives.
Well, you know what always interested me was this idea that cable is too expensive, so I'm going to cut the cord and go streaming. I actually disagree with that premise. I don't think cable is too expensive. I think cable costs an appropriate amount for what you're getting, because you're getting 200 channels. Now, some of them you don't want, right? And that's fair. And I think we can all agree that that's why they can charge us, because they bundle them. And you don't have a choice. You have to get the 150 you don't want for the 50 you do want. The problem is, and I know because I just moved, and you'll have to find this out when you have to pick a cable package or choose not to get one or get satellite or whatever. It's really hard in streaming to closely match cable for any less than what you would pay with cable. And Netflix sounds cheap, and it's like, oh, well, I have Netflix, I don't need cable, and maybe that's okay, and you only use 15. But if you want a cable equivalent, it costs what it costs because you're getting a lot of stuff for your whatever you pay your cable company.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety, a lot of bang for your buck, I guess. And yeah, and that's why I don't think that the future of cable is going to be one where you get to pick and choose. I think it's just going to stay this bundling plan, because otherwise, if you could pick and choose, I think that's what everybody would do. Sure. And I think everybody would wind up with like 12 or 13 channels of their favorites, and the rest would fall to the wayside. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know which channel I would pick, probably above all other ones.
Oh, really? Okay. What would be your top 3 channels? I'm
top
curious.
3?
Top
okay.
3.
All right.
You must
number
have.
1.
Yes.
Must-have channel of all time, HGTV. I would need to keep I love HGTV. Uh-huh. This is a fairly recent phenomenon.
All right, we're putting the brakes on the whole show because I really want to focus on this for a minute. Matt, tell me all about HGTV.
I have been recently exposed to the show House Hunters.
This is new. You hadn't seen this before.
I had not seen House Hunters before the summer. I'll say that before the summer. But wow. I have officially now watched every House Hunters episode there is on Netflix.
Oh my god.
International and domestic.
Oh my god. This is the new this is our whole episode right here, because I could talk for hours about House Hunters. Let's go.
I happen to really like House Hunters. And I've watched other shows like Flip or Flop. Mm-hmm. I'm not too crazy about that because it's every episode I've watched, they've always flipped. They've never flopped, and
That's
I know there are probably episodes where they flop, but they're few and far between. The show should just be called Flip.
Well, and all their renovations look the same.
Yes,
they make the same house every time.
That's exactly.
There's no
I thought
variety.
That was strange too, and yeah.
And they always have one problem in the beginning where they go, "How are we going to pay for this?" And they go to commercial break, and then when they come back, they figure out how they're going to pay for it.
How to pay for it? Yes, that kind of lost my appeal. Although I do occasionally like to see what they do, how they transform the old. It's not so much the final result to me; it's more how they do it. That's intriguing, and that's why I like other shows, like. I'm blanking on the name, but it's the guy with the muscles. He has
the Mike Holmes guy.
Yes,
the one who fixes stuff that's done badly.
Yes,
he's great.
I like that show a lot. I think I've learned a lot from that show as well. But all time, House Hunters.
Oh, House Hunters is amazing. Matt, fun fact: how many episodes a year do you think they make of House Hunters?
Per year? Well, it's hard. It's hard to gauge because all the episodes on Netflix are a collection.
Right.
So I assume they've been made throughout the years.
It's been on for
like I don't know why. I don't know why, but I always get the feeling that they film at least the domestic House Hunters, the U.S. one. It always seems like they're filming in like October or November. Everywhere they go, it seems like it's fall. I don't know why that is, but like the leaves are always on the ground. People are always wearing coats. I don't know. If I had to guess, what they probably do like 12 or 13 episodes a year.
Matt, what if I told you, and I swear to God this is an absolute fact, that last year, I don't know how it's been historically, last year they made over 400 episodes of House Hunters. I swear to God, you can look this up. This is an absolute fact. They, at any given moment, okay? Really? At any given moment, they have something like 6 crews actively shooting across the country.
Oh my!
They pump those out like in bulk. It's crazy because they are so cheap and easy to make.
That's true. They are. It doesn't seem like it would take a lot of work, but why would they need to produce that many episodes?
Because they're constantly on. If you watch the channel HGTV, it's
true.
Always on.
And that's another thing we should talk about. Now that we've gotten on the topic, why does it seem like that's the new norm for cable TV? It seems like the new norm is, and I can cite multiple examples where there's a network, and the network will run the same show, which probably I'm assuming is the show with the best ratings at the time, and they just show it. It seems like on a constant loop. And then they'll have like a special episode at like prime time, and then they'll go to like another show to throw it a bone for like the 1 hour time slot, probably at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then it's like I'll cite a couple of examples. HGTV with House Hunters is one. You have Discovery Channel; they always are showing the. Is that the one that has History Channel? Oh, it has that American Pickers, or Pawn Stars. Seems like it's on all the time. Although recently they've been showing a lot of aliens, like
ancient aliens
and stuff.
Yeah.
And TLC has the show with the little people, Little People, Big World.
Yep. Yeah, I have 2 theories why they do that. Okay, one is if the show is serialized, most of the examples you gave aren't. But if a show is serialized where you have to watch week to week to get the story, they like to rerun them beforehand because they have the assumption that people will tune in to catch up. The unscripted stuff, I actually think the streaming culture has played a role into this, and it's because historically when you didn't have shows on demand, you kind of just watched what was on, right? And if you missed an episode, you missed an episode. And there wasn't anything you were going to do about it. But today, because all of our content is on demand, you can watch whole seasons at a time. I'm rewatching right now Parks and Recreation for the 1,000th time. No exaggeration. It's ridiculous. I think that's why shows that have a healthy audience, American Pickers is maybe a good example, the ratings show that people will just put it on because they know what they're going to get, and it doesn't matter if they've seen it or they haven't seen it. It's just that there is an expectation. You know what? In prime time, which stretches a little later than 11 p.m., the top-rated shows on all of TV, including the major networks, are Adult Swim reruns. Family Guy, American Dad, whatever else they air. They don't air Futurama anymore. Whatever they air now. And that is because the demographics of, young males, really, who mostly watch Adult Swim, they will just put it on and watch it, even if they've seen it 1,000 times. It is an interesting shift. I think it's a more recent shift than it's ever been. But I guess it pays.
It seems like the TV has become more like a background fixture. Like something that emanates background noise, like similar to the radio. How the radio was, when the television was popular in the 50s and 60s. How the radio would be something you would put on for while you were working on your car or whatever, working around the house. You'd have the radio on. Now it seems like having the TV on. It's not really something that you're focusing on.
Well, how often?
You just have it as background noise.
How often you watch TV like this? On your phone? I do it all the time. All the time. I just actually recently, way too recently than I should have, discovered the Netflix app on my phone. Definitely should have known about that like a year ago. But yeah.
That's dangerous now because instead of reading Wikipedia and learning about stuff, I'm watching Star Trek Nemesis or something.
Exactly. I mean, it's and channel flipping with the availability of all these channels and having multiple devices. I really think that there is something to be said for the comfortability of, when you tune into House Hunters, you know exactly what's going to happen. I mean, there is very little surprise.
Well, that's just it. Streaming, that's when you have the intentionality, I think. When you're streaming something, you're watching on Netflix, you are sitting down and the thing you're paying attention to is Netflix. Now, this isn't always the case, but I think you're doing that more often than if you were to turn on the TV and whatever's on is just background noise, so you're not quite as lonely or whatever, alone with your own thoughts. It's just something else to not really focus on, but just to have in the background.
And that's where the value of shooting 400 of them a year comes in. Odds are good when you tune it on, it's one you haven't seen before, right? I mean, statistically, that is very likely the case. And that's valuable for HDTV because you're more likely to stick around at whatever random time of the day it is.
Fun fact about House Hunters for our listeners out there. I'm sure that you, as a House Hunters fan, Sean, I'm sure you know this fact, but a little fun fact is that the buyers actually know which house they're going to buy beforehand.
Oh, sure.
They've actually already bought it. They've already made their decision before the show has even begun. And the whole thing is just basically an act. Many
times the other two houses they see are ones that they never even looked at in their original search. They're just houses that were on the market at the time.
What I'd like to see is the House Hunters episode where they like one of the pre-selected houses better than their own house, and then they're forced to make a difficult decision on air. I'd basically like a live House Hunters. Just live. I want it to be live.
I think that would be fun. I mean,
or unedited or something.
I have seen some where they don't choose a house at all.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Those are rare, but always fun.
Yeah, that was the first time I saw that. It really took the ground out from under me.
It rocked your world. You didn't even know it was possible. Is that even an option?
I was like, what? You're going to stay in your house you're in now? What? They do that a lot, or they do that more often, I think, in the international ones. Because a lot of the time they haven't really come to appreciate the place they're living in, or they haven't really thought about that. Oh, living on Easter Island is incredibly difficult because
very expensive.
We're not native Easter Islanders. My husband is Swedish and I'm Peruvian, and they won't let us live anywhere else but this one shack that we have to live here. Bottom line.
That is so, Matt. I got to ask you, because it's a controversial House Hunters question. I have an opinion. I know a lot of people have opinions. Which is better, domestic or international?
Wow. All right. So I actually I've had this debate before. I've had this debate a couple times before. I've had it with my mom and my sister, and I've had it with my girlfriend. Everybody seems like they have their own favorite between international and domestic. I happen to like neither. My favorite House Hunters is the Little House Hunters.
Oh my God, man! Why do you do this? You always make the wrong decision.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
Come
kidding.
on.
I just wanted
That
to.
wouldn't
I just
surprise
wanted
me.
to mention that one.
That would not surprise me.
No. That was. I actually I like the domestic one better. Because usually the international house hunters is them renting and they're not buying. And I just think it's more exciting to see what happens when they buy something and then like kind of make it their own. Also, I feel like the international ones, I get really mad at the people's life choices, if that makes any sense.
Makes perfect sense.
For example, there was a couple that was moving from, I believe, Minnesota, and they had 9 children, and they were moving to Italy, and they decided to just give up their business, like their family business. They decided to just give up the
everything.
business with 9 children and be like, all right, we're going to start over again in Turin or whatever part of Italy they decided to live in. And they're just like Trieste, or it might have been Trieste, I don't remember, somewhere in like the Italian Alps. And they're just like, oh, we're going to just uproot our lives and move here. Like,
that happens. I always hate the...
I get frustrated. I'm just like, why would you do that? You just gave up your like, at least get a job. At least find an occupation. Find a means to support yourself before you decided to go all crazy like that. And it seems to happen more in the international ones.
Oh, yeah.
In the domestic, it's a lot of people moving for work. It's a lot of people like being relocated for work. But in international, it's just like, I decided to live in the outskirts of Mongolia.
Yeah, they
like,
always have the stupidest.
What? Yeah.
I'm always annoyed at the at when it's the couple and the and the guy's like oh, I'm a sales executive. I'm going to work from home at my island shack in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like,
yeah.
How do you think that's a good idea? like honestly, it's one thing if you're retiring or you're buying a second home, okay, but it's like, no, we're gonna drop everything and move there because I can work from this island where it's got a dial-up connection and the nearest airport is 8 hours away. It's like I don't.
Oh, it's always been my life's dream to live in a city where people ride scooters and bike to work.
They do that.
So I'm going to move to Italy, or I'm going to move to this like Barbados or some island in the Pacific, and okay, that's great, but you gotta eat somehow, and it's not gonna be fishing, so or mashing coconuts together. So get a career first, and then you can move. I don't know.
They need to do a spinoff where it's like House Hunters Ruined My Life, and it's the follow-up to those people, and they're like destitute and homeless on this island because they couldn't figure out.
Also, what you're not getting from that, you're getting the bottom line cost of the house, but they never tell you what the utilities cost. They never tell you what the average cost of living is. I mean, you can go and look it all up.
But even renovation costs, what's amazing is some of these episodes they explain where they're like, oh, if you want to get a refrigerator, they have to ship it in from the United States. It's got to be enormously expensive to do anything.
Yeah.
It's crazy. No, I agree that domestic is better for the main reason that I can't relate to the international, because I go to these places and be like, oh, this house costs $100,000, and I'm like, I don't understand. Is that a lot? Is that like really cheap for the area? Is it like the house looks nice, but then it's kind of it's on a cliff?
And no matter what, the currency is always seems to be in U.S. dollars, and that can translate to a good deal or a terrible deal based on.
It's very
on
odd.
What they're actually paying.
Domestic, I get. It's like, and okay, we're in
exchange.
We're in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we have a $200,000 budget. It's like, okay, I know what kind of house you're going to look at.
Yeah, you can relate to that, and you can be like, well, cost of living in North Carolina is relatively cheap, so you should be fine. Like,
but you go to Venezuela, and it's like, I don't understand. I don't know.
No.
You know, it like looks really shitty on camera, and then they're like, "This is really great," and I'm like, "Is it?
Is it? I don't know.
Is this like really
Camera's
nice for the
only
area?
showing, like the beautiful palm trees
Is
and
it
the
surrounded
beach.
by shacks and shanties, and this is like the mansion? I don't know. I have no sense of reference. So
That was like there was one episode where this couple moved from I think Canada to South Africa, and they're just like, "Oh, this is great because there's giraffes that come right up to your house and can drink out of the pool. How magical!" And then it's like, "Oh, that's the part of South Africa that happens to have really high mortality rates because of malaria." It's like, oh, I don't know.
white people are the worst.
I agree. Domestic is the way to go. You can just relate to it better. Not, I mean, I do enjoy. I enjoy. That's the thing is, I enjoy the international house hunters, not for the house hunter-ness itself, but more for the comedy of the story.
Oh, totally. No, listen. House Hunters is great for two things. One, entertaining people, and two, just looking at what houses look like and what you can get for your money in different places.
It's awesome. That being said, I want to know, Sean, what is the most entertaining episode of House Hunters you've ever seen? I want to see if it's the same one that I came up with, because this one's a doozy.
I've seen so many, I really don't have a memory for it.
Do you remember the
Go ahead.
episode? Do you remember the episode where the I think it was in Boston, and it was a couple, and the girl was afraid of ghosts.
Yeah, I think I do remember that.
She actually put on her list, on her like wish list, no ghosts. No ghosts popped up on the list.
Did they find one without a ghost?
Because every house they looked at, her first question was usually something along the lines of, "Oh, can we take out that corner over there? It looks like a place that would have ghosts. Can we remove this radiator because the ghosts get into the house through the radiator?"
That's awesome.
I don't like Victorian houses. Can we not look at any Victorian houses? Those seem like the kind of houses that would be populated by ghosts. It was just insane, and a real treasure to watch, especially the facial expressions of the man, her man friend, whether it was her boyfriend or her fiance. And he's just sitting there, and he just, every time she brings up ghosts, I could just see in his eyes, he dies a little bit inside. He's just like, I just got saddled with this. She actually, fun fact, I think she worked for Google, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're pretty crazy over there. That sounds about right. No, you did remind me of one that I particularly enjoyed, where it was a young couple. It was their first house, and they weren't quite goth, but they were kind of dark and quirky, and they're like, we want a place with a lot of character, and we want like an old Victorian with like secret passageways and all kinds of quirky, crazy stuff. That was relatively entertaining. The best part was, like, a year later, I was watching House Hunters. They were on it again, the same people,
back.
and they start the second episode by, "Yeah, we bought that house before, and turns out it's a stupid idea to buy a house that's quirky and full of weird stuff. We hate it. We now need a normal house because we're adults now." It was great. It was
really great.
And they
That's
played
almost like
clips from the old one.
It's like serialization right there.
It really is. It's like, and now we're buying our second house, and they looked at like really traditional, like modern, like normal houses.
That's awesome.
They're like, yeah, we really regretted doing that.
They're wearing like button downs and like a tie.
They were. I swear to God, they were like young professionals all of a sudden. and they showed the old clips, and you're like, I forgot about them. They were totally crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, you're. That's a PSA for our listeners. You're not supposed to buy a house with character with a lot of character,
House Hunters is
unless you're prepared to
educational
spend a lot of money and time, fixing things.
You can really learn a lot watching House Hunters.
Yeah, you can. I probably my favorite thing to do while I'm watching the show, especially if I'm watching it with someone else, is to everybody. I'm sure everybody who watches it does it. You take bets on which house they're going to wind up with.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That's the most. To me, that's the most entertaining part.
Do you know about the drinking game? There's a drinking game for House Hunters.
That seems like the perfect show.
And it's really house rules, but it's things like, I need space for entertaining.
Yep.
A fenced-in backyard for the dog. Open concept. What else?
House with character.
Yeah,
A
character.
lot of people, charm. A lot of people
Charm.
say charm. They want a house with charm.
There's what else? There are a lot of good ones.
A great commute to work.
Oh, great commute to work. I mean, it's normal. And then it's like
That's big for the international ones.
you take 2 drinks if they need space for their band. Because that's always a fun one. I mean, and then you get into some of the really weird and wacky ones.
Because they're gonna make it big someday.
Oh, you take a drink if they complain about the paint color because it's stupid because they can change it. That's a great one.
A lot of the times they do that. These are great countertops. That's a big one.
People saying I hate granite or
Yeah.
I love granite because usually it's one or the other. No one's
Issuing
ever just
their
okay with
opinion
it.
on granite.
Yeah.
Yeah, people get so divided about granite countertops on those shows.
Do you
It's
like
true.
granite countertops, Matt?
I happen to be a big fan of granite countertops.
Nah, see, I hate granite countertops.
I love granite countertops. See, that's exactly it.
But it's different styles.
Yeah, it really depends on the cabinets and sort of the paint. There's a lot of factors going in. But my ideal kitchen is a blue walls, like sky blue, with granite countertops.
I'm glad we're talking kitchen design on our Future of Entertainment episode.
How did this happen?
I apologize for anyone watching.
We really spun our wheels on this.
We're really riffing hard. Quite
Indeed.
hard. Yeah, no, we were talking about our favorite cable channels, I think, originally.
Yeah, and that somehow devolved into a giant
House Hunters
discussion. Riff.
Which was great. I wouldn't take it back for anything. No, my go-to is CNN and ESPN. My TV's always tuned to one or the other.
Yeah, I listed HGTV would be probably my second priority wise. ESPN would be the first, and then the third would be whatever. I'd probably go with whatever local sports network.
It's the live stuff.
Baseball,
that's what it is. It's the live stuff. It's the live news. It's the live sports. Yeah. That's why you watch TV.
But then, even then, I would be willing to pay extra for like a package deal, so I can watch all the football I want or all the baseball I want. So, I'm not watching it for constant analysis when a game isn't on. I'm really just watching it when there's a game on, pretty much.
But that's the ripoff of these services like Sunday Ticket and the MLB, whatever theirs is. Those giant packages where, I'm not going to spend $400 a year so I can watch my team out of market.
Right. And then sometimes it doesn't work. You get gray areas. Your network fights with Time Warner, and you can't watch the Pats game. And
that sucks.
Yeah,
I'm going to be watching a lot of Texans games.
A lot of Texans.
A lot of Texans games. Books. I want to make sure we talk about books before we run out of time.
let's get there. Books.
The future of entertainment. Books. Matt, I got to tell you.
Tell me.
Sunday, I am flying out of the country.
Okay.
And not just because Donald Trump is the Republican nominee. No, it is for work. I'm going to the Netherlands. With the windmills and the wooden clogs and the whole...
And the stroopwafels.
And stroopwafels.
Make sure you get yourself a stroopwafel.
Think about on the plane. I mean, everyone loves stroopwafel. Actually, a bit of a sidebar, but I was looking at, because I'm there over a weekend, and so I was looking for things to do. And there are these... there's this thing where you pay like a couple... And you go into their apartment and they cook you dinner, like a 3-course dinner, and you sit and eat dinner with them.
Yeah, this is so it's like Airbnb almost, right?
Yes.
But without I forget what it's called. I've heard of this. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I realized as an American traveling alone in a foreign country, we're getting into taken territory, and I probably shouldn't sign up for that.
Probably not. I mean, I've heard great things. I've heard terrible things.
I'm
it's
sure.
like...
And it's Amsterdam.
You want to roll the dice? Roll the dice.
A lot of legal things there,
Yes.
Don't know what you're getting into.
That is true. I think the only place I would ever consider doing that would be Canada. I think Canadians seem pretty awesome.
I think Dan Miller's done those in New York.
He's done what?
He's done those in New York City.
Oh, he's actually done it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he has. He's said nice things. He still lives. My hotel does have one of those all-nude European spas in them. So maybe we'll do that. But you didn't need to know that. Anyway, yes. I'm traveling out of the country, and so I had to get books to read on the plane and in my downtime, because there'll be some of that. I got paper books, Matt.
You got paper books?
I got paper books. I have an iPad. I have.
Are you one of those people? Are you one of those people that's like, I can't read on an e-reader because it's not.
I read on an e-reader all the time. That's the confusing part.
So all right.
That is the question that's what we're gonna discuss.
Okay.
Digital books, paper books, Matt. When do you buy either or neither?
Okay. For me, it's a simple one here. And maybe this is just the teacher in me talking. I buy the books that, number one, they meet certain criteria. Number one, I'm going to be doing a lot of like rereading and like pulling it out and consulting it and like going like that route. Number two, I really like the books that make me look really professional and smart, to be hard like material books, because as someone who would have a library in their house, I want to be able to show off that. And I think that's the main thing that we were losing in the transition or the sharing with e-readers, is we're losing like those collections of books. Like it's like another, like a collector of anything, a collector of cards, a collector of stamps or coins. You collect good books, or you collect like ancient books, or you collect books that you like, and you can display them in a bookshelf. You can't do that. You can show people your collection of ebooks, but you don't. I don't know. The ownership doesn't really feel as solid or concrete. Now, the great thing about ebooks, e-reader, when you download e-reader, is going on a trip, which is why I can't figure out why you got paperback books.
Several.
Going on a trip anywhere.
One
really,
hardcover.
And they're hardcover. Great. Well, I guess that means that they're sturdier, but they're also a lot more inconvenient to carry around and pack with you. I don't know. I mean, if you're traveling anywhere, the e-reader's awesome. The e-reader's amazing for that. And to be fair, I might have knocked it a little bit earlier, but I'm kind of one of those people that is like, when I'm reading, I like it. I definitely prefer it to be like a book where I'm actually turning the pages and instead of looking at a screen. But I'm not opposed to the e-reader. I actually know a lot of people who are so completely turned off by e-readers because they don't like looking at the screen, or they think it feels to them like they're not actually reading a book. But why do you think you bought hard books?
Well, so I do buy both. I do buy it both ways, and I, in usual Sean fashion, have a weird construct as to why I do one or the other. I basically buy ebooks for two reasons. One, it's a book I have no intention of ever reading again. Two, it is significantly cheaper to buy digital, like to the tune of 20% of the cost or 10%. I mean, it's got to be really going from $10 to $1.99.
Yeah.
Otherwise, or it's out of print and it's only available digital, which has happened to me before as well. Or a print copy's hard to find. Otherwise, I buy print, and here's why. Matt, when I moved into this apartment, I had almost no furniture. Okay, the last place where I lived, a lot of the furniture I gave away, and even that was a studio apartment, so I really didn't have any furniture. I bought a couch and a dining set. I had to go buy a bunch of furniture. Do you know what the first piece of furniture I bought was, Matt?
A dining room table?
No, a bookcase, Matt. A bookcase. A beautiful, beautiful bookcase. It is my favorite piece of furniture I own. It's gorgeous because I want to display all of the books I've collected. And I only display books that I'm have really enjoyed. It's not just every book I've ever purchased. Because I give books away, or they're digital, and it doesn't matter. But that is one of the key reasons I buy paper books. The other is that I read them on my iPad here. Okay, iPad Mini, one of the older models. The screen isn't great. It really isn't. Like the paper, the e-ink readers, I think are a lot better. Reading on this, I find really difficult with my eyes. A, the font isn't as crisp, and I think it's a little harder to read. But also B, my eyes don't track as well. I find myself jumping all over the page. Again, I have a feeling this is a Sean problem. But I genuinely can't keep track of where I am when I'm reading a digital book because you don't have the tactile feedback.
I've never used an iPad to read a digital book. I mainly use my phone. And I have a Kindle that I use on occasion. And I know with both of those, you can adjust the font size and the font type.
Yes, and the colors and all of it.
The iPad, you can do that as
And
well.
I just have a problem.
You can change the background to
Yeah,
like black and okay.
yeah. If you want a black background with white text, you can do that.
Yeah.
But there's just something about it where I don't. I mean, here I can show you. You know, I mean, you get the glare from the lights, and you get
It's different. Yeah, it's definitely different from reading in a traditional way.
And by the way, if you're looking for something great to read, I was just finishing up the game. You read the Game Change books?
Yes, I read the first one.
Oh, well, read this is Double Down, the second one on the 2012 election. Very good, but get it in paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't enjoy it. An Airplane is a great example where I finished a paper book and then started a digital book, and I couldn't adjust to the digital book. But I think that's a me problem. I think when we talk about the future of entertainment, I call bullshit on this no paper books thing. I really do. I think it will shrink. I think it will be a shrinking market. I don't disagree with that, but people, I think there is just an effect that paper books have. I don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, you got to feel the paper, and it's like having it. The words are come alive when they're in your hands. It's like, no. I'm not saying that. What I'm just saying is that it's hard on the device takes you out of the fact you're reading a book. Maybe that's how I want to describe it. You don't feel like you're reading a book. It's like you're on Twitter or Facebook or you're reading a news article. It doesn't feel like you're reading a book.
That's what I was also gonna get at, is that when you're reading it on a device, it's so easy to click off the book and just let your mind wander. Like if you wanted to look up a fact or something in the book, you look it up and then you're like, and that article leads you to this article and that page leads you to that page. Like, and I'll watch a video about this, and before you know it, you've only read 2 pages of your actual book, and you've just gone on a giant internet adventure for like an hour and a half. And with a book, I feel like it's like a mental vacation, like a hard book. Like you can just sit there and just read it, and be able to put your device down. It's kind of like a break from that like constant information feed.
Well, I kid you not, I must spend 80% of my waking hours staring at a screen of some kind. It is my job. It is what I do when I get home. It is what I'm doing right now. I'm looking at 2 screens. You constantly do it, and I think the paper book has a different effect because it is out of the norm for most people. I'll give you an example. There was a book called The Late Shift by Bill Carter. Great book. It was about when Jay Leno and David Letterman fought over Johnny Carson's Tonight Show when he retired back in the 80s. And of course, Jay Leno ended up getting it, and Letterman went to CBS. It's a very fascinating book. Problem is, it's been out of print for years. So I had to buy an old, not super ratty, but well-used paperback version on Amazon. And I hear myself saying it, and I gag a little bit in my mouth because it's so cheesy. But it felt grittier because I was physically holding this old copy that had clearly been read by a lot of people. That the story felt different. I don't know. It just feels really cold reading it on a tablet. And again, I am gagging in the back of my mouth because it is really cheesy. But
no, I actually had a very similar situation with the book The Road. Mm-hmm. It's a sort of like I don't know if I would call it science fiction. Maybe a little bit science fiction, but it's more like a dystopian.
They made a movie out of that, didn't they?
They did. They turned it into a movie with Viggo Mortensen. Yes. The Road. The copy that I wound up getting was very similar. It was a library copy that the library was selling at one of their book sales, and I got it for very cheap, like 25 cents or something. And it was an incredibly well-worn, used copy. Coffee stains on like every other page or something, dog-eared, and it just led itself better to the story, because the holding that book that had been so well read and so used, it added almost to the environment. in that like, dredged post-apocalyptic kind of way. And that was cool. And that's something you really can't emulate that on an e-reader.
I think, as I sit here thinking about it, when you go page to page on a digital device and you swipe or you tap a button, there's really no distinction page to page. Books are printed in a certain manner where the pages are broken up in a certain way. And you lose that when you get on an e-device because you adjust the font size and you tweak things, so the pages don't fall really as they were originally intended in a print copy. And I just think flipping a page, for as lame as it sounds, is an indication that the story's progressing, is an indication that you've moved from one thing to the next. And again, like with my eyes where I can't track words on a digital screen, they all start to blend together after a while. Especially because I like a little bit of a bigger font size, and I'm a fast reader. I flip pages a lot. And when you do it on paper, it's not as extreme. I don't know. I think there is absolutely value in digital books. For example, textbooks, I think, are a good example of something. Well, maybe not. Well, maybe. I don't know, because I go back and forth, because I see the value in having the print version, because you can write on it and draw on it and share it with people. But if you've got a big enough tablet, you can write on it and draw on it, and then you get interactive things, and you get videos, and you get other things thrown in.
Right, or you could be like me and just get it so you look like a big smarty pants.
Exactly. Carry it around for the ladies, show them how smart you are.
You just put it on a shelf and, oh, what's that you're reading? Oh, the dictionary, yes.
Matt, why do you have writing for dummies up on your bookshelf? You've
caught me reading.
I'm a smart guy.
I'm a big smarty pants.
Yeah, I just I definitely think there's value in ebooks, and I will continue to read them. But I will, if it's a book I think I'm really going to enjoy, I'm going to get it in paper.
Yeah. I get a lot of junk food books through e-reader. Junk food, meaning like just, I read a lot of really junky science fiction, like crap.
Oh, 99-cent kind of.
Kind of like serials. That's my big like enjoyment when it comes. If I'm not reading something, like scientific or historical, I'm probably reading like a crap serial from like one of the Star Wars EU books or something. Mm-hmm. I get a lot of those on Kindle.
Yeah, those are great.
They're really cheap, and and then they're not like laying around my house, and like I have to explain why I have the entire collection of like the Thrawn trilogy or something.
And can I admit something?
Go for it.
I may have on occasion purchased a book digitally and enjoyed it so much I went and bought the paper version.
Wow, you've done that?
Which is pretty stupid.
I've considered doing that actually, but I've never actually done it.
But I don't know. And again, this is my head, which is not normal, but there is something, I get satisfaction out of seeing a book on a shelf that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Because I forget about them. I forget that I own them and I read them when I don't physically have them, because I will go through my Kindle library and be like, I forgot. And there's something again about having them physically where they're in front of you. They're there physically.
Right.
I'm weird.
It's I know. I mean, it's definitely something that I've considered buying another book that I've had on Kindle.
Have I ever recommended to you One Summer?
One Summer. I think you might have. I think that might have been a recommendation.
Because I feel like you'd really enjoy that book. I would just think about that. I read that one digitally.
Digital books definitely have their place. But again, I don't think that the hard copies are going anywhere.
But you know what? But you know what? I'm gonna rep for magazines too, though, because for example, I subscribe to Entertainment Weekly. They talk about entertainment every week, and I get the paper version, but they also give me the digital version for free. Because I pay for the paper version. I don't like the digital version. I like the paper version better.
Yeah.
It doesn't add anything for me to have it digitally. Now, if I had the choice between buying one or the other, I just don't know. I guess I just like the distinction between long-form written content like a magazine or a book and short-form written content like Twitter and Facebook and news articles. You know what I mean? I like the fact that there is a distinction having one digitally and one physically. That tells them apart, because when you get a magazine on an iPad, it just starts to feels less important. It feels like
you're reading a news article on the internet.
And then I get bored with it more quickly, and then I don't read things. I flick through things more quickly, because it's like, all right, I wouldn't. Whereas in the paper version, I might start reading the first few lines and get more interested. I mean, you really don't give it as much attention. I don't, anyway.
Yeah, I'm a subscriber to The Economist.
You're so much smarter than me.
I'm not.
I like Entertainment Weekly. They tell me what's new in movies.
Put myself on a pedestal, but I do read The Economist from time to time. No, I will say I'm not a paid subscriber. I just subscribe with my email. Any idiot can do that. I don't pay them money every year. But they send me like their email, and it comes in a digital form, and I basically nowadays I just put it right in junk, because if anything I want to read, if I have some time and I'm like, I want to look at The Economist, I'll go on their website and I'll like read one of the 50 million articles they have for free on their website, which are, in my opinion, just as good as the editor's picks that they keep sending me every month, or every other week. So I mean, those with that format, I think having it in paper just kind of feels like it means more. I don't know why that is. It feels cheaper when it's there digitally. Now, what about audiobooks?
I wish I had more time to listen to audiobooks. I actually really enjoy audiobooks. I don't think I could switch 100%, because I don't think anyone has time for that. The problem is it's just really time consuming, especially because I'm a pretty quick reader. Audiobooks take a lot of time, but gosh, yeah, I haven't listened to an audiobook in a while. I really enjoyed it. There was a while there where Game Change was a great one I listened to an audiobook.
Yeah.
And
I could see that being a great one.
And I really, I recommended Anthony Bourdain's book on audio, which was great.
That was an awesome recommendation.
It's good when the authors or the subjects themselves read it.
I've been told, if you haven't read the Harry Potter books and ever want to, I've been told that Stephen Fry does a very good job reading the Harry Potter books.
I bet that's a fun one. Problem is, audiobooks are expensive.
They are. They're very expensive.
I mean, it's quality, but you pay for it, especially next to a book. You know, why would I want something that takes a lot of time and is really expensive?
I guess the convenience factor is really so you can listen to it while you're driving.
Right. Well,
I think that's the only time I ever really get audiobooks, is if I have a long drive.
Well, I think about people like Colby, who listens to podcasts 24 hours a day. I don't understand how he listens to the number of podcasts he listens to, including this show. He somehow squeezes in. Shout out to Colby. I don't understand it. But he's the consumer for that. Someone who has it on the background, like you said, when they're working out or commuting or walking the dog, or who constantly has it playing in their house.
I try to do that. I try to listen to podcasts a lot. I listen to them on my commute, including this one. I'll have it on in the background when I'm working or around the home or doing something. But I feel like I can only really pay attention to it like 10% of the time, or 20% of the time. I can never really give it the full attention that I want to give it. I can't just sit in a dark room and listen to a podcast and just focus on it.
Well, I think that's the difference between a podcast and an audiobook, is you can half listen to a podcast and get it, or miss some of the podcast and get it. On audiobook, you really can't do that. It does require some amount of mental attention. That makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah, in order to reap the full benefit. But
Matt, we are out of time for tonight. I think we've reached some really important conclusions about the future of entertainment. That the future of TV is in house hunters. The future in books is in the hundreds-year-old technology of paper. And that the future of audio is in people talking. So we've reached some really strong conclusions here.
Indeed. And that's why we're the best.
But you know what, Matt? There's one form of media that will never change. This show.
This show.
That is the show. That's right. Audio and video, and you can check it out on our website, upfordebatetv. I recommend you go there, and here is why. Because we've got every episode we've ever done is there on the website, and there are some doozies, including this one. You can check them out, and I recommend you click the subscribe button, and here's why. It's got links to everywhere you can follow the show, including iTunes Radio, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music. Soon we're going to be on TuneIn. Not yet, though, but soon. Where else? RSS, most major podcast apps. Of course, on YouTube, subscribe to the video versions. We do it in HD. It looks great. SoundCloud. Jesus Christ, we're everywhere. And you can follow us at Up for Debate on Twitter and Facebook.com/UpForDebateTV. Do that because we stream the show live occasionally. So you might, if you like it, it shows up in your feed when we go live. You don't even have to do anything. It does it all automatically, and then you can just listen and then comment in Facebook, and we'll talk about your comments. It'll be a whole thing. We should do that. Once we get some amount of audience going, which will never happen, but we should do a question and answer show where we solicit questions and we answer them.
That would be great. And a mailbag where we answer people's emails.
You know what we should do,
We
really?
should appear at malls and live events and stuff where people want to actually have us. And,
all right.
maybe we should get a big billboard with both our faces on
People
it.
don't even want us on the internet, never mind in person. No, what we really should do is bug our friends for questions and come with them prepared.
Or just
We'll have to do that sometime. Or just make them up. We do. Hey, we've done shadier things. So check us out in all those places. We will be back next time with more fantastic content. Matt, anything else you'd like to say before we conclude?
I think that the future of media is in great hands. Ours. We are the futures of media.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. On behalf of Matt, this is Sean. Thanks to everybody for joining us, and we can't wait to see you next time for even more exciting debates on Up for Debate.